Hi guys, welcome to Code Bashers. Guys, in this video, we will be discussing request param annotation. Guys, this is the sixth video in the Spring Boot annotation series. I hope you are following this series. If you are a beginner in Spring Boot or you are preparing for the Spring Boot interviews, then this playlist will be very much helpful for you because we are covering all the annotations starting from basic to advanced. So guys, make sure that if you have not subscribed to the channel till now, please subscribe it because you will be getting notifications on videos that we will be posting in future, whether it is regarding this series or whether it is regarding the different job updates that we continuously post on our channel. And guys, during this series, if you have any troubles, if you have any doubts, you can always contact me via comment section, as well as you can join our Telegram groups also. The links will find in the description box. So guys, now let's start this video, and before starting the video, please hit that like button as well as the subscribe button for this channel. Okay, so guys, request param annotation. So when we are sending an HTTP request, we generally send some request parameters with it. To use those request parameters in our controller, we use @request param annotation. So last time we have seen the path variable annotation, in which we are fetching the details from the path only, that is the endpoints only. But request param is that we are sending some parameters with the HTTP request. To fetch those parameters from those requests in our controller method, we are using this request param annotation. So let's just move towards the editor. When we'll hit the endpoint through Postman, then you will be understanding what are these request params. Okay, let's just quickly move towards the editor so that we can make a function to handle these requests. Okay, so let's just inside our controller, let's just define one more function. Let's just say public string, and it will be request. Sorry. Okay, request, it will be okay. What it will return? It will return a string, that is the request parameter is, and then we will add it later. Okay, so now again, first of all, we will have to map this particular method to handle a specific URI, that is the endpoint. Again, what we'll do, we will do using request mapping annotation for it. Value will be what it will be. Let's just say it is student, it is only student. Okay, earlier in path variable we were using slash dynamic IDs, but here let's just say our URI is only student. Okay, and again, what type of request we are handling? We are handling the get request only. Let me just copy paste from above only. So I hope you are following the entire series, so these things will become more clear when you are following the entire series. Okay, now see, this is a simple method, and we know since we are returning a Java object, we need to like serialize it to the JSON object so that our Postman can display it. So for that we are using this response body annotation. Okay, now see, in path variable we were seeing here that okay, so these are some variables that are coming from the path, therefore we are using them using path variable annotation. But what are request param? What are request parameters? Okay, so what are request parameter? So when in through Postman, when we are hitting the API, okay, so there are certain sections that you can see. This is body, and there is headers, authorization, params. So all those things, all those key value pairs that are sent through this param module, these are known as request parameters. Let's just now send one HTTP request, that is get request only, and with one request parameter, that is ID. What will be the value of this ID? Let's just give it 4. Okay, let's just give it 4. So you can see that when we are adding any of these parameters here, ID equal to 4, so you can see here that question mark has become inside that endpoint. So API slash student question mark ID equal to 4. So this is what a request parameter is. This is what a request parameter is. I hope like if you can remember one example, like when we do login in some of the applications like Facebook or anything. So in the URL, you see some of these parameters. These are the search queries that your username will be displayed here, like this, all things. So this is what the request parameters are. So currently we have given the value of ID and we have given the value of 4 here. So now we have to fetch this 4, that this ID in a Java code, that is in a controller. So for that, what we are doing, we will be using @request param annotation. And what will be the data type of this parameter? Let's just give it integer only. What will be the name here? So name will be similar to the name which is there in the request parameter, that is ID we have given in this Java code. Okay, so this ID should be with the same name of as that of this key, because Spring will automatically map this ID to that ID for a Java code because the name are same using this request param annotation. And let's just simply print this annotation now. Oh, so print this ID now. Okay, print this ID now. Okay, so let's just run the command. Okay, sorry, so application, I think it is not started yet. Yes, so the application is starting. So when we'll print it, the request parameter is 4 should be printed when we'll hit this API. So see, the request parameter is 4 because we have sent an ID with value 4. Okay, let's just send it with 70. Let's just suppose, okay, send. So here it is 70. Now let's just suppose we are sending two request parameters, because there can be 10, 20 parameters also. Let's just suppose we are sending two parameters. Let's just suppose ID1 also to be 100. Okay, let's just quickly go and change our modifier code a bit. So for every request parameter, we'll have to add separately this annotation. So at the rate request param integer ID1. Okay, let's just print it that here. So second ID is, and we will print it ID1. Okay, so this is one way of printing. And again, I am telling you how this ID and ID1 are mapping to their respective parameters, because the name here in this Java variable as well as the key in the parameter are same. Therefore, one-to-one mapping is happening. But now let's just suppose that you want that, no, I don't want this ID our Java variable as an ID. So we have to give this name as first ID. Let's suppose you want to give it as first ID, and you have to give this name as second ID. So how will Spring know that this first ID should be mapped to this ID request parameter and ID1 request parameter should be mapped with second ID? So how will Spring know? So in that case, if the names are different, in that case you will have to, in request param, you have to explicitly define the request param. So this ID, that is the ID from the request parameter, should be mapped to this first ID variable, and the ID1 from that request parameter should be mapped to this second ID. So this is the case when you want your variable name to be different in the Java code. But if you want that, okay, it should be ID and ID1 only in the Java code as well, then you can skip this part and only you can give the name of the variables as ID and ID1. Spring will automatically map these two values. Now let's just print it first ID, and here we will print it as second ID, and let's just start the app, rerun the app. Okay, so we have passed two IDs, and let's just now simply run it. So you can see here the first ID is 70 and second one is 100. So ID has been mapped to first ID and ID1 has been mapped to second ID. So I hope the request param annotation is clear to you. It was very similar to the path variable annotation only. Just the difference is that in path variable we are mapping the IDs from the endpoints, whereas in the request parameter annotation we are mapping the request parameters to the Java variables. Okay, so I hope all these things are clear to you. This was it for this video. If you are finding this series interesting, do hit that subscribe button and do comment down that what type of videos you want to see on our channel. Thank you for watching this video.